Someone gave, someone donated, someone left a legacy. Generations of generous someones have helped shape Rhode Island into this amazing place we call home. How do you thank them? By leaving your own legacy. We can help.
Welcome to another edition of In Another Opinion, a public information program focused on the communities of color in the state of Rhode Island. I'm your host, Peter Wells. Music has long been seen as the connection to the human spirit and the world around us. Various genres make the music art form more personal and fulfilling. Today's guest has an interesting story to share with a Providence connection. My guest today is a talented up-and-coming musician. Natal, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Listen, from the bio that I read a little bit about, it says that you were raised in Philadelphia, but you came to Rhode Island and you found a home for a period of time.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, I grew up in Philadelphia in a little township called Cheltenham. Moved to Israel when I was 17 and met a friend on the Sea of Galilee at a music festival. And she was living in Providence at the time and had invited me to come and visit her on one of my numerous visits back to the United States. And so I hopped on 2 buses and came to Providence and completely fell in love with the West End. And it's already changed so much in such a short amount of time.
That's true, it has, yeah.
And fell in love with such weirdos. There's so many weirdos on the west side of Providence in such a beautiful way. And so I found myself exploring the arts and the artists in that community. Yeah.
And there are a lot of them in various different art forms. I have a friend who owns a gallery, the Sky Gallery, over. She's been on the show,
Right.
actually, Johnny.
Johnny.
And I had, last month, I had Ann Tate on, who lives on the west side. And she's an art teacher at Roger Williams. And she focuses on some unusual kinds of art form, including cemetery markers, monument art, and the wedding cake home
Yes.
on Broadway. So yeah, there is so much going on in terms of art. But you are more focused to the music side, I think. Am I right?
I'd say music and film, yeah, as much as possible. Music has always been a huge calling to me. I just feel that it's not tangible. We don't know. To me, it's such magic. I mean, film is magic, but eventually you can see it. Music you can't see, and it's so mystical. So I've always felt more connected to music and the way that it shifts our feelings and our perspectives in such a direct way. It talks directly to the heart. And then film is something that I've been doing since I was a kid. And so I feel that, clearly film also is a beautiful medium and sharing a message.
Sure.
And there's so many wonderfully talented filmmakers in the Providence community that I've connected with that are doing great things and missions of sharing, political statements. Yeah.
When you were in Tel Aviv, you were doing some music there, I understand.
Yes.
What were you doing there?
Mostly exploring my musical side. I didn't believe in myself for a very long time. I still don't sometimes. That's definitely part of the human nature. Being in Israel allowed me to join a band, a rock cover band, where we were singing the 60s and 70s inspired like activism, style music.
Yeah.
And you get on stage and drink a bottle of tequila for the confidence and just share that same energy and channel that same energy that Creedence Clearwater did back in the day, and Janis Joplin and Ray Charles. That's really what I was doing.
I was into Curtis Mayfield and War and Al Green, which all singing
Yep.
Very political stuff, but nonetheless during that time of war.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. And that's, yeah, I think that the exploration was a huge part of why I was doing what I was doing, just to gain the confidence to stand on a stage in front of people, and then eventually work my way off the bottle. No
Yeah.
more boozing, and just being able to do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Obviously, you have vocal talents. Do you do anything else in music? Do you play instruments or?
I'd like to say I play guitar.
Okay.
I play piano.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I can't rip a solo, but yes, I can play guitar.
I know. My parents had me on piano lessons when I was growing up in New York when I was, I guess, maybe 5 or 6. They started me on piano keys. And then when I got a little older, the option to my brother and I was either piano or violin. So obviously I stuck with the piano
That's
because
great.
the violin wasn't something I wanted. And then later on in life I got into brass instruments. But music has always been a part of my life as well. And I guess it's really a part of most people's lives, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah. We're gonna have to get you to join my band.
I think those days are probably shot. Who knows?
Who knows?
But listen, so filmmaking, which is another piece of what you do, how did you get into that? Is that by you self-taught, trained? Tell me a little bit about that piece.
Self-taught.
Okay.
I'm a self-taught artist. I didn't realize that you could be an artist, and that was a thing. That's really what Providence gave me when I first came to Providence in the West End, and I'm like, oh, people are living lives as artists. I didn't even know that was possible. That's something about being in the Middle East for so long. You do work you're working your butts off just to make money to afford your housing and your living situation. I didn't realize that you could live so cheaply and do art and that could be your life. And so self-taught was something that was, I didn't go to school for art because I didn't even realize it was a possibility. So I had to teach myself. And film was something that I had been doing as a kid. I used to take the old VHS blank tapes and I'd stick them inside the old TV, and I'd take my camcorder, my parents' camcorder, and I'd direct my younger brother and sister, and then I'd take, I'm sure this is something that you guys are all potentially interested in, I'd take that and figure out ways to edit. I was probably around like 10 years old, and I'd figure out ways to edit the film that I just shot of my siblings with the VHS tape, with the chords, and I'd rewind and pause. I'd do all sorts of things, and that was something that was innate, I'd say. So it's self-taught in a way, but also it was definitely at the core of my being as a young kid. And then I just eventually decided to continue to explore that, and then use it for the greater good.
Sure.
Yeah, in collaboration.
You directed a video here in Providence on Broadway, and I remember that you had the streets closed down. And
Yes.
You had dancers and musicians, and it was kind of a festival-like atmosphere, I'd say. So, was that difficult? First of all, to get permission. Second of all, to get buy-in from the neighborhood and the actors to participate.
I have to say that the Providence city as a whole, I know that they have a lot of, different opinions regarding businesses and things of that nature. But my experience with the city has been nothing but glorious. They really helped me at believing that this was even possible. I mean, I didn't have a whole production company. I just had a vision, and I had a belief in the vision, and I called the Providence Police Department and talked to Sergeant Martinez, and I said, listen, I want to shut down Broadway to do this video. It feels really important, and it's to inspire the community to pursue their dreams. And he said, what street you want to shut down? I said, Broadway. And he said, on a Thursday morning? I said, yes. He said, good luck. And I was like, well, are you telling me no? Or he's like, well, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying, I don't know if this is going to be possible. I said, well, so then there is a possibility. And he said, well, yes, if you can call the traffic engineer and get him to say yes, then I'll pass it. So I hung up that phone call, called traffic engineer, Nate, who I later discovered his name is Natal.
Is that right?
Yes.
What a coincidence.
Right. Coincidence or, something
Yeah,
else,
karma,
right?
huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I pitched it to him, and he said, you have until 7, what did he give me? I think he said until 7:30 in the morning. I'll give it to you for 3 hours or 2.5 hours. And that was it. As soon as I got the okay, I called back the police department and I said, we got it. And then I worked my way, towards every department. You have to get approval from everybody. Rhode Island Film Department, from the city, Lizzie Arujo. Am I pronouncing her last name correctly?
I think correct.
Yeah. But the point is that a dream is here, and there are many lily pads surrounding that dream in order to get to that, to that other side. And it's not impossible, but you definitely have to jump from all these different lily pads to eventually get there. And sometimes you have to go backwards, and sometimes you have to go to the side. It's not necessarily a direct way all the time, but it's always possible. And so the city of Providence has been super helpful. And then once that was on its way, more people got word of it. And then Richard Sullivan, I had to reroute bus routes on Broadway, and Richard Sullivan, who's the head of Rhode Island Public Transportation, he and I went around to find the best route that wouldn't, interfere too much with
sure,
people.
traffic flow, yeah.
Right. And when we did that, he actually he texted me later on that day and said, do you want a bus? I said, what do you mean, do I want a bus? He said, we'll give you a bus if you want to film in the bus. And so Rhode Island, RIPTA has been incredible as well. And the bus actually was Yarrow Thorne's Project Avenue concept, which they had a dream of bringing art and to public places. And so that whole bus was wrapped in art by Colin Gillespie and Miles Dumas.
And they're local artists.
They're local artists, yeah, a graphics team who paired up with Avenue Concept to wrap the bus into a giant,
Billboard, so to speak.
billboard, yeah, and they have 2 of them, and I got to pick that one that actually said "Move" on it. So it seemed that it started to, things fall naturally, but there's also a push that you have to do, and that is what that project was. And then people thought I was absolutely crazy, but the ones that thought I was crazy and still showed up at 5 in the morning, it was sunrise. Actually, the call time was I think 3 a.m.
Wow.
And we went the entire day filming, and so it was difficult. It was challenging, but in challenges, challenging experiences, you grow. So
Sure.
And then everyone else got to participate in that experience. Yeah.
So what did you do with the film? And what's the name of the film?
Day to Night.
Day to Night.
Yes.
Okay.
I took it, actually, funny enough, to bring it back to Israel. I flew to Israel right after the filming of Day to Night on Broadway, and worked on editing the music video, and just in my family home in Tel Aviv, and released it on October 28th, and we had a big, again, a more like festival-like party for the release at Troop, who has also been accommodating, and just celebrating and life and love and art, and it's up online on YouTube. And
that was my next question.
Yeah.
Can people view it today?
Yes, people can view it today and share it, and the message is about believing in yourself, especially if it's in the greater good, to help this ripple effect happen throughout our community and our nation and the globe, you know.
When you say ripple effect, which ripple effect?
A positive ripple effect of love and light and positivity, and
Okay.
a little goes a long way. I think we've all noticed that, you know, a smile or like a bright aura just
Sure.
transfers, you know, it's courage and light, those are contagious things, and so is negativity. So if you're negative and that passes on to somebody else, that's gonna ripple effect throughout your day. But if you choose to share light and love, that will also ripple, and we get to choose that. That's a choice. So that's the choice that I made, and maybe to an extreme case, you know. But
No, I witnessed it. I saw the video, and there were a lot of different people. These were not paid actors. These were just people who wanted to volunteer their time to make that mission possible, I suspect.
they actually were people that it took me 3 months to produce and coordinate this entire thing, from the wardrobe to the choreography to just gathering everybody and getting all the release forms and convincing people to join me in this mission. So starting from May 1st until August 1st. And I walked around, the entire city of Providence. And I think this is essentially how really you and I got connected.
Exactly.
Was I have this vision, and
I remember.
And
Seven Stars Bakery.
Seven Stars Bakery, who, by the way, let me just side note that they donated. They woke up at 3 in the morning. Rachel, who is the manager, woke up at 3 in the morning, brewed all this coffee. She brewed all this coffee, made fresh pastries, brought them over to our house, which I was at the time living on Knight Street, and she would bring them over for all the cast and crew.
Oh, really good.
And Chaste as well, which is another spot on Broadway, baked goods, and specifically for this event, and it became a communal event. The flower shop, La Rogue, right on the corner, came out and donating the flowers that you see in the video we were passing out. Those are all from there. It was beautiful. Everyone was up at sunrise to witness the magic of sunrise. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. But so I was on this mission of gathering anyone that would hear my call, and my call was, don't you believe in something greater? And so I walked around in and out of businesses, local businesses, and I also walked just in coffee shops. I would talk to people. And so the people that you see in the video were people that heard my call, and a lot of them I didn't know who they were, never met them before, strangers who are now my fellow, spirit warriors or something.
Lesbians or whatever.
Yeah,
Well, when you told me about the project, I can remember the first thing I said to myself, Broadway is just lined with all these lawyers' offices, and to be honest with you, I said, she'll never get to close this street down because these guys just aren't going to allow it to happen. But apparently there was enough support as well from those businesses. Yeah. Or at least no objection.
Right. Yeah, I remember talking to you, and it's something. Even if you didn't say that, I could see it in your eyes. Yeah. Like, this girl's crazy. But that's what happens. I think that's what stops a lot of us. We see the reflection in someone else's eyes of doubt or fear, and we think that that's going to, or we let that stop us. Sure. And don't think that I didn't see that in your eyes. I knew that you were like, this girl's probably not gonna be able to do it. And I saw that in many other people's eyes. Sure. And still something kept me going, which was knowing that my brain was just telling this story of, maybe you shouldn't do it because you might embarrass yourselves, or you might not be able to pull this off. But instead, the whole point and the whole project, the mission of the project was to still walk in faith despite my fear and despite my doubts. And that entire thing was, I mean, I didn't go to school for film. I didn't go to school for music. It started, the whole song was born, a friend of mine and I wanted to just push ourselves to see if we could write one song a day. And the song came out about a year and a half ago. You know, things just happen sometimes and you have to follow them through, especially if they're gonna, I mean, we're here now.
Sure.
I could have never predicted that, but you have to follow something in order to share the message. So.
Well, I'm glad I was wrong with my eyes.
Yes. Yeah.
We actually have some in the video. We're going to run some of that video.
Sure.
But let me ask you a question. What's next for Natal Music?
Well, since the video, I've moved up to Maine just to gain a little bit more perspective and take a step outside of the city life and reconnect with nature and go inwards a little bit deeper. And so I'm writing and recording with a friend of mine, Nick Coolidge, who has been helping me produce. We've been working in Prague as well. And now we're working in Maine with another friend, Michael O'Hare, and I have some ideas for music videos for these upcoming songs. No streets are going to be closed for these upcoming ones, but more, you know, back to nature type of films, and just, you know, doing what I got to do, which is sharing music. So that's what I'm working on. And I got some other little surprises in store. Yeah.
Well, very good.
Yeah.
I know that right now you're living up in Maine, but any chance you're coming back down to the west side?
I don't know. And first of all, I've learned to never say never.
Yes.
So I won't say that. I don't know if living in Providence is in store for me right now. I feel that I'm going to be traveling a lot and then having reflective time in nature, and that would be most likely in Maine. But I do have a vision eventually of giving back even more to this community. Providence has given me so much belief in myself that I could be weird and think outside the box. A place like the Columbus Theater was a huge inspiration. It still continues to be.
Yes.
For transformation. And I do feel that creating some sort of foundation or potentially buying a warehouse space in my future in Providence to create subsidized housing for artists feels like a calling of mine. And I'm clearly not there yet because I don't have the funds at the moment, but I'm working towards it and giving back in that way, because I really believe in art and changing the
Yes.
Perspective. Artists have the ability to envision a world that we wish to live in and then create that and then allow other people to feel and experience that. That is huge. We all as creators have the ability to change the world. Little by little. And
Yeah.
so that's something. And no artist should be homeless or starving, or I feel very strongly about that, having gone through that myself for many years.
Let me just interesting, in my previous show, we had Neil Steinberger from the Rhode Island Foundation, and he had informed me, which I didn't know, that it doesn't take a lot of money to set up a foundation.
Huh.
It's really more about the idea and the impact of that foundation. It doesn't have to be thousands and thousands of dollars. It's someone's idea of, and of course your idea is right in the alley of the foundation in terms of providing housing for artists.
Right.
It makes sense. I think you should talk with them.
There we go. it takes these kinds of conversations sometimes to,
Exactly.
at least spark an idea or plant a seed, and understanding that the things that you do want aren't so far-fetched and are all very possible.
All of it's possible.
Yeah.
I've learned that.
Yes.
Before we run out of time, let me ask you, Natal, music and the foundation possibility for artists, those things can work really well, especially here in Rhode Island, where there is a housing shortage, and a housing shortage for people who are on a lower income scale. And obviously, starting out as a musician, one generally doesn't have a lot of funds. I remember I thought I was going to be a singer at one time, and then I realized that I couldn't be a starving artist, so I got involved in economics, which was a whole another field, but also connected to music in a way, because math and music are almost simultaneous, quite frankly. But I think you should follow that dream of providing a foundation for people who have those visions and don't have the opportunity or the resources to get there.
Yes. I do believe that that's coming sooner than I think. It feels very important. So I'm going to be calling the Rhode Island Foundation and seeing.
Please do.
Yeah.
Tell them I sent you.
Yeah, I will.
Because we were just talking about that in another show, and I was shocked to find out that it didn't take that much money to set up a foundation. It's really more about the idea and the impact than it is about the money.
Exactly.
Because once the foundation is set up, people can contribute to it.
I was going to say that. Yeah, then all you do is ask,
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I ended up doing as well for this, for the city. I asked for a grant and I received it. So it's not that difficult after all.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, we have run out of time, but I want to thank today's guest, Natal, and you, the viewers, for tuning in to another edition of In Another Opinion. A special thanks to Rhode Island PBS for making this program possible. Give us your opinion on Facebook or Twitter. I'm your host, Peter Wells. What's your opinion? And by the way, we're going to run some of that video that Natal created on Broadway. And let us know what you think about that video.
Step into the field and move your body and dance. If you're hiding from yourself, and you've been trying to get real, go on, step into the field and move your body and dance. If you're hiding from yourself, and you've been trying to get real, go on, step into the field and move your body and dance. If you're hiding from yourself, and you've been trying to get real.
Someone gave, someone donated, someone left a legacy. Generations of generous someones have helped shape Rhode Island into this amazing place we call home. How do you thank them? By leaving your own legacy. We can help.